My sister ruined my daughter's recital performance and called it funny. Even with my daughter in tears, my uncle just laughed it off. The next morning, Grandpa did something none of us expected, and it changed everything. My sister Vanessa has always needed to be the center of every room. 8 months ago, at my cousin's graduation dinner, she pulled my chair out from under me mid-toast. I hit the floor hard. My 9-year-old daughter, Marisol, was sitting right there watching. That night, she climbed into my lap and whispered, "Mama, why does Aunt Vanessa think hurting people is funny?" I didn't have a good answer. I called Vanessa the next day. "Keep your pranks away from Marisol," she scoffed. "You're both too sensitive." I let it go. I shouldn't have. Marisol had been preparing for her school's spring recital for 4 months. She'd chosen a piece on the violin, practiced every single evening, and designed her own performance outfit, with my mother's help, a pale green dress with tiny pearl buttons. 2 weeks before the show, she held my face in her hands and said, "Mom, promise Aunt Vanessa won't come. I promised I would handle it." I sent Vanessa a message. Clear, direct. "You are not invited to the recital." She read it, never replied. She showed up anyway. She walked in 15 minutes before Marisol's solo, wearing a bright red dress like she was the one being celebrated. I moved toward her immediately. "You need to leave right now." My uncle Dennis stepped between us. "She's family. Cool it." What I didn't know was that Dennis had picked her up and brought her there himself. Marisol's name was called. She walked out onto that small stage, spotted Vanessa in the 3rd row, and visibly stiffened, but she kept going. She raised her bow. The first note came out perfect. Vanessa started laughing, loudly. Fake laughing. The performative kind she uses to make everyone look at her instead of whoever else is in the room. A few people turned. Marisol's bow stuttered. She lost her place in the music. She stood there frozen for 5 terrible seconds before her eyes filled up and she walked off stage. I found her behind the curtain, still holding her violin, not making a sound. That silence was worse than any crying. My uncle recorded the whole thing on his phone. He was already grinning about it. My father, who had been quiet the entire time, stood up. He's 71 years old and doesn't raise his voice often, but he walked straight to Dennis and said, very calmly, "Delete that video." Dennis laughed at him. My father reached over, took the phone, and dropped it directly into the drink Dennis was holding. Then he turned to Vanessa. "We are done here." 3 other families left with us. That night, going through Marisol's recital program, I found a group chat my father had been added to accidentally weeks earlier. Vanessa and Dennis had planned it. They'd even debated whether to do it during the solo or during her bow at the end. They chose the solo for maximum reaction. My father didn't say anything dramatic. He just made a phone call. The next morning, he drove to my grandfather's old workshop and spent the day there. By evening, he'd typed up a formal letter he used to work in contract law outlining exactly what had happened, with timestamps, witness names, and a copy of the group chat messages. He sent it to every family member over 50. No commentary, just the facts. The fallout was quiet but total. My grandmother canceled the annual family beach trip she organizes every July and told Dennis privately that he was no longer welcome at her home while he continued to defend what happened. Vanessa called me 3 times. I didn't pick up. 2 weeks later, my father rented out a small community hall. He ordered Marisol a violin-shaped cake, invited her 6 closest friends and both her teachers, and set up a proper little stage with a microphone stand and string lights. She performed her entire recital piece start to finish without a single mistake. Afterward, she sat next to my father on the steps outside and said, "Grandpa, why did you do all this?" He thought about it for a moment. "Because you earned an audience that actually deserves you." Vanessa's apology arrived 4 weeks later, in a text, 11 words long. Marisol read it, set my phone down, and went back to practicing. She didn't respond. She didn't need to.